Radio.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Cryptocurrent. Your host here, Richard Carthon. And today I got a very special guest working on an extremely cool project that I'm excited to learn more about. We have Mark Peck with Rocket Dollar. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Richard. Thanks so much for having me.
Of course, man. Well, I'm excited to learn all about Rocket Dollar and its extremely unique utility, because I was actually looking for something like this about a year ago. But before we dive into that, how about you tell us a little bit about yourself and give us some background?
Sure. Well, I've been working in the alternative assets industry for about 10 years, primarily working for banks and trust companies that provide retirement services. So alternative retirement accounts is really my focus. I've had the pleasure and benefit of being a part of the crypto community going back to 2016, 2017, as things sort of really took off. I had friends tipping me off to this amazing new industry, and I just can't get enough. So Rocket Dollar is a couple of years old. We launched it to try and really add more value to the tax advantaged investing space. And for me, in those 2 years, digital assets and partnerships in that space has really been a focus, and I'm super excited to talk about it today.
No doubt. Well, let's dive back into early 2016. You said that was your first introduction to it. Like, how did you first hear about it? And then once you heard about it, how did it intrigue you in a way? And you're like, wow, this is something I could bring into my own livelihood, my own business.
Yeah. Well, I've always been a, excited and sort of curious investor. And growing up, that was pretty much just the stock market, right? And that's all people talked about. And as I matured through my career and start to, get exposed to more private investments, I realized just how powerful, private shares in a company can be, or private staking in a new venture can really be. And so in 2016, I had some buddies in the Bay Area who were launching, companies that have now long come and gone. And I'm really glad I didn't buy their ICO. But
yeah.
At the time, that was the bleeding edge, and it was really great to watch it. I think luckily my somewhat conservative side of me from the investor perspective was like, I'm going to hold off on investing in some of these things. Waited to 2017 to start to put my own money to work. Got a little bit of Ethereum, a little bit of Bitcoin early. Luckily, I wish I had, done more. And since that time,
quadruple down on that.
Yeah. But I was hooked, But I think I also, being a little bit conservative on the investment side and not being a technologist, I sort of wanted to stay with those pure stores of value. And, Bitcoin really personifies that at the moment. And obviously, things change every day, but that's sort of where my focus is, on the store of value play and a hedge against everything that's happening in our economic world.
Well, let's talk about that as we transition into Rocket Dollar. So, we're in 2020. We had a pandemic that just hit us. We have like global, all kinds of indicators and just global conditions that are affecting all kinds of economies. I believe the European economy is down tremendously since the beginning of the year. How are you seeing what's happening in the world economy, and how is Rocket Dollar uniquely positioned to help offset some of those challenges?
Yeah, so our tool is focused on allowing you to use retirement dollars to invest in alternative assets, which can be a really wide spectrum. It can be, a token, a digital asset. It could be a bar of gold or a piece of real estate. And so those have been the more traditional asset classes. But again, as things have evolved on the digital asset side, we're finding more and more ways to help customers get part of their portfolio in something a little bit more insulated and a slightly more uncorrelated asset, or that doesn't have the same systemic risks. So you've got, clients investing in European real estate through an STO token, right? But they feel confident in the immutable ledger that provides that function of ownership for them, as opposed to not being able to touch or to handle the asset that's held abroad from them. But predominantly, it's that store of value play and a hedge against everything that's going on with the dollar. Right. Sort of the disbelief at the disconnect the stock market has displayed yet again here, where again, we've all benefited in our 401ks over time, where those numbers have gone up, but you have no control over it, and it seems so. Uncorrelated to any other real economic driver. So we've got folks who are coming in, they're putting $10,000 in a Roth IRA in Bitcoin, and they're long-term hodlers, right? That's the primary audience today. A lot of the folks are experienced in that, like yourself, I don't have to explain to you what Bitcoin is. You already know what it is. I'm just helping give you the tool to unlock those retirement dollars. So that's our common customer today.
For sure. Kind of go ahead and expand on that a little bit more. Just give us an overall understanding of like, what Rocket Dollar is. And if I'm your ideal customer, like how do I come on and get engaged and use your platform?
Right. So the trick with retirement is keeping everything reported and owned in a clean trail for the IRS, right? They are very focused on just making sure you have the right rails in place to account for all the assets and to make sure they're owned properly, out of the account, back into the account. And so Rocket Dollar is being paid for a very specific set of order of operations. We really focus on being super tactical. We do that all through our, online digital experience. It's all electronic, no hardcore, hard copy paperwork. And so the focus is opening a new account in the same way that you'd open a Roth IRA at Fidelity. You're rolling over old dollars from an old 401k plan and an old job you left behind, or rolling them over from, let's say, a Schwab brokerage account where you trade GBTC today. So you're funding the same account type at Rocket Dollar, same rules being played by everywhere from the IRS perspective. But then Rocket Dollar layers on top a very specific entity for the customer to use to transact through. So it results in this idea of checkbook control. And what checkbook control is the ability for the customer to own and hold the assets directly on behalf of the retirement account. So you can disperse money out through your Rocket Dollar account onto Coinbase and exchange at your on-ramp, from US dollars to Ethereum. That's where you begin. And you can hold the keys in a hot solution of your choice, maybe on platform with an exchange, all the way down to a true cold solution that you create yourself. And so it gives you the ability to manage and hold your assets, your coins, your keys from start to finish.
And that's so powerful. A lot of platforms have tried to create solutions. I don't want to say exactly similar to this in the retirement standpoint, but the whole idea of still having control of your own keys while setting up a long-term type of investment opportunity like this is super powerful. So I think that's really amazing. Like, how are y'all able to get that set up? That's so cool.
Yeah, well, we're lucky that we didn't have to, invent something new. We are repurposing old mechanisms that have been well proven by the IRS and from a regulatory perspective, which is important, right? When it comes to your retirement and when it comes to taxes, you want to be super careful, which has been, frankly, a huge barrier in the crypto space in the US, right? It's so difficult for people who are transacting out of their taxable dollars to manage the reporting. What's so beautiful about what we do is that there's no reporting on your gains or on the trading. It's all tax deferred within this account type. So we're offering that same fundamental IRA like you'd hold at Fidelity. We layer on top a legal entity you're in control of, and it gives you that on-ramp to own the assets in and out. And so our focus is on technology and really the back-end operations so that when the customer interacts with our journey, it's really easy to package all of these complex things into 4 or 5 easy steps. So we focus a lot of our time and technology on the back end, just creating sound, really banking infrastructure, which allows for a quick customer turnaround, when you come through.
No doubt. And I mean, this sounds like a really unique opportunity in the sense of a lot of tech forward and forward thinking companies to be able to create this type of unique retirement plans for their employees, or even for your own self-made entrepreneurs that want to go out and set this up for the future, that you now have this trusted entity to go and set this up. So like, how has it been received so far? And like, what's been the experience so far with everyone?
Really positive. And a large part of what I focus my time on were sort of partnerships for the first couple of years with exchange partners, with some of the lending platforms like a Celsius, who can help engage with our customer base and just add value to the choices, because we really do give you a wide range of choices. And so if you're not sure about which way you want to go, you often need some education or some content to help you make a decision. So we try to focus on adding that in. This year has obviously seen a roller coaster of emotions for all savers, investors, and just for so many different reasons.
Yeah.
And so it's been an interesting ride where, we've tried to really just add value where we can from an educational perspective, but also not, maybe overstep our bounds in terms of where's an area that we actually have expertise on and we should be commentating. It feels like some of our peers sometimes maybe coach people in a direction that's not necessarily a comfort level for them, right? Like sort of the late night gold salesman hard sell. That's not the kind of approach we're trying to take, right? Like we're trying to provide the tool that gives you lots of choices and help you feel empowered to make the choice not necessarily coach you down one way or the other that's just beneficial to us.
No doubt. And I think that is a really strong point of empowering people to come on, make their own decisions and provide an education piece. Because I mean, as you've said, in a lot of different ways where retirement is set up, they kind of try to steer you in a certain place of like, yeah, how do we, while you make money, how can we get our biggest ROI too? So in the fact that you're just giving all the information, putting the tools out there and letting people make their own educated decisions, I think is extremely valuable. And
yeah, absolutely. What's great too is it really lets you be diverse and uncorrelated to the point where you can invest in a couple of startups through, Start Engine or Republic, and then pair that with your 10,000 in Bitcoin, and put your trading Fidelity account in that same sleeve or umbrella of assets. So you've got your standard assets for that traditional exposure, really your sort of aggressive trade, if you will, with crypto, and maybe you find something else to sort of balance those out. And so it's been really fun for me to talk to so many educated customers, right? So every week, every day, we've got people calling in and asking us these really interesting and complex questions. So helping them sort of unwind that and figure out what's possible, or maybe, that's actually limited because you're a US-based resident and you live in New York State. You can't actually purchase that project coin, or you can't transact with that platform's STO issuance because they don't have the right AML KYC to match up with us. And so that's where we can continue to add value to our clients, is as they explore and push the boundaries of what what investments they want to go after. We just help to continue again to help make sure that they stay in line from that IRS guardrail perspective,
right?
But encouraging the exploration and encouraging the innovation,
which is absolutely spectacular and definitely something to continue. If everyone listening to go check that out. And I know that you've been in this space since, you said, early 2016, and you've seen all kinds of things happen over the last 5 years. What are some things going on right now in the crypto and blockchain space that has your attention that you think other people should be looking out for?
Well, I think for me as a user, and a lot of the population that we're working with are, investors who believe in the space. So they're long-term hodlers. You don't have to preach to them, why Bitcoin has its value, right? But again, it's an issue of sometimes finding the access to actually to unlock all of the potential. So I've been excited to work with a few yield platforms that are creating income and depository yield or lending out through their programs. I mentioned one a little bit before. It's a Celsius Network. There's BlockFi out there, a couple big names in the States. And then Aave out of Europe, I really like. They're a decentralized lending platform. So what's really great about them is you're not giving up your keys and your coins, right? They're providing that yield, though smaller than the others in terms of the deposit return. It's because it's decentralized. You're still maintaining the assets yourself. And so we are benefiting from their great work and evolution in terms of their offering. So continue to explore those pieces, continue to figure out, if you're going to, again, make this super long-term allocation where you're just holding it for 30 years, how do you continue to make sure that you get the most out of it and compound those returns? And if you can earn a couple % a year, it does pretty amazing things for you in the long term. So I think that's right now a great place of innovation that helps investors. And I'm still waiting a little bit on the STO boom too, from an investment side. Like we see that and we hear it. I wouldn't say it's as prevalent as it was even a couple of years ago. Like we still get calls and queries about like real estate tokenization and things that are very tangible. Right. I think there's a lot of potential there, but I have to say with our market, there's been a little bit of a lag, I think, in interest of that compared to just people acquiring the coins directly. People come to us primarily to buy the big major coins, XRP, Ethereum, Tezos, whatever it is, right? They want the sort of top 10 names. Yeah. It hasn't really trickled down as much to some of the side projects as I thought it would have a couple of years ago.
Gotcha. So there's still a lot of opportunity in the alt space and to see what the altcoins are doing. But I think there you hit on a huge point in the yield space. We actually had someone with BlockFi come on the show previously and had a really good conversation. And there's just so much opportunity in that space because you're right. If you're just going to be, if you're a hodler and you're going to be sitting on this money anyway, if you have it in cold storage or what have you, it's just sitting there. Just like with your savings, with your savings account, at least you're getting like 0.01%. So maybe you're making a penny on every whatever you're putting out there. But with if you're getting somewhere between 4 to 8 to 12% yield with your money just sitting there anyway, because you're not going to touch it, you might as well be making money on your money. And there's a lot of opportunity in that space. So I appreciate you speaking on that and speaking towards that. But with everything that's going on in the world right now, and we spoke about early in the conversation, where do you see the future of cryptocurrency and blockchain headed in the next couple of years?
Well, I think it has the ability to improve financial services greatly. I think that it remains to be seen whether the big banks are the beneficiaries of those improvements or the endpoint users. We're hoping that the users are empowered in the way that blockchain has really, so far been able to achieve. But just like stripping down barriers to using, digital assets on your phone as a payment method. The ways that, big public companies, even like Square, right, continue to spend money and time and support projects. Like, I really appreciate that convexity of traditional banking and blockchain. I think blockchain is going to win out, if you will, in terms of how much impact they have.
Yeah.
But it's important to at least build those bridges, right? I think there's a bank in California, Silvergate Bank, right? Like, they were one of the first banks to bank crypto startups. And though that's sort of a boring news story to an outside user who's just learning about crypto, I think it's really important to people who are inside the space, because you need those things to take incremental steps of validation.
Yes.
That leads to just a few weeks ago, right? We had JP Morgan talking to Gemini and Coinbase about becoming customers, right? So every step of validation is still really important. And I think, honestly, just surviving and thriving during these times. Like, I listened to one of the podcasts, from the previous recordings, right? And you talked about how the team there was still hiring and how hard that was for them, or how difficult that is compared to a lot of their peers to say, we're still open for business and we're hiring, we're adding new people to our team. I mean, that's just an amazing achievement considering how fragmented of a year it's been.
Yeah.
To just survive and get through it and come out on the other end is probably more of an achievement than it would be normally.
Correct. And I think in this space, just like you said, every monumental step is just so much more powerful, because it's helping that uptick, that upswing that's, I think, finally going to come. What would have taken, I think, a decade to get to, I think might have gotten cut in half, if not sooner, just because there's way more focus and a lens on everything that's happening in this space. And the fact that, just like you said, with one of my previous episodes, even though in this space, a lot of people are losing jobs and there's not a lot of opportunity in this space, there are people that are growing fast and need help and need resources. And that is encouraging. I think that is an encouraging sign of just all the opportunity that's in this space. So, of course, surviving this time, and for everyone that's building the infrastructure, building those first layers, so that when everybody comes and builds on top of it, if you've already been there, you're just going to thrive, right? And so I really appreciate that comment. I think there's a ton of truth to what you just said. But more than anything, I really do appreciate your time and everything you've been able to drop on us. I think there's a lot of valuable information here. But what is a final thought that you want to leave with all of our listeners here today?
Yeah, well, thanks again for having me, Richard. Great here to be with the cryptocurrency crowd. I think for Rocket Dollar, and what we're trying to address is the fact that most people think their retirement has to be kept in brokerage jail, if you will, right? And there's no other options besides an ETF. And that's just not the case. So depending upon your skill set, depending upon your own unique journey that got you to where you are in your professional career, you can leverage that expertise and apply it to your retirement account. So whether you're in healthcare startups or, blockchain focused, or, a real estate, tax lien expert, you can apply all of those experiences to your retirement account. And that's just something that most people aren't aware of. And so whatever your flavor is and whatever your near and long-term personal financial goals are, there's something to at least learn from the industry that we're in. Whether it's a good fit for you at that time or not, it's not always timely, but there's tons of value there that for most people is completely new. And so, do yourself a favor, check it out a little bit. This idea of self-directed retirement accounts can add a lot of value, or at the very least help you shape the other things that you're doing in your investing life.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great final thought for everyone. We're in this time, in this period where people can set up long-term wealth. And one of the ways that you can always do that is through your retirement. Now, there's a giant shakeup with everything going on in the world, but this is allowing you to look at several different asset classes, several different ways, and even involving the cryptocurrency community to be able to invest and get into that space as well while you're already doing what you want to. So for everyone listening, go check it out, go get some more information. And Mark, what are some different ways that people can either learn more or connect with you?
Yeah, so you can visit us at rocketdollar.com. We've got a team email box, which is just info@rocketdollar.com. Again, my name is Mark. Thanks for the time and the interest. You're welcome to give us a call too. We take old-fashioned phone calls too, the old school way. So everything's on the site there. We've got a ton of information on our knowledge base, and happy to connect with people on LinkedIn as well. So we take all comers and are glad to learn from the community as well.
Excellent. Well, again, man, super appreciate your time and telling everything about Rocket Dollar and all the amazing information that you dropped. But for everyone listening, stay cryptocurrent.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Cryptocurrent with Richard Carthon. We'll be back with more exciting developments from the world of blockchain and cryptocurrency next week. But until then, stay crypto.